And a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Weekend Century. Come to you live from our studios here at Adesa Wikanda in Accra. My name is Judith Brown. Coming up this afternoon. This afternoon, fears of possible fuel price hikes following eruption of conflict in the Middle East after the U.S. and Israel carried out strikes across Iran. Also, High Court to deliver ruling on whether case challenging eligibility of Baba Jamal as NDC candidate should be dismissed. Last this afternoon, calls for amendment of Ghana's data protection laws to meet emerging technological threats. We'll tell you more. Welcome once again to the bulletin. We start from here. Now, some analysts are anticipating hiked petrol prices following the eruption of conflict in the Middle East after the U.S. and Israel carried out strikes across Iran. The attacks, along with retaliatory strikes by Iranian forces, have seen targets in the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan and Iraq hit, prompting several oil companies to suspend the shipment of crude oil. Petroleum products have seen stable and low prices here in Ghana in the last few months, but there are fears that this could change. Duncan Amwa is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. He joins us with more details on this particular story. Good afternoon, sir. Now, we have already seen a bit of surge in prices of Brent crude oil. Is that a sign of what we can all expect to happen?
Tomorrow, which begins a new trading week, which is Monday, would actually give us figures, real-time figures, what the impact of this all-out escalation in the Middle East is or has been. What I pick from around is that you are looking at almost $91 a barrel as we speak, up from the $67, $69 a barrel that the week closed with. What this means is that oil prices, and for that matter, energy costs globally will surge, and Ghana is not insulated from that surge.
Right, now let's focus much closely on the situation in Ghana. Will this impact, you've said, is going to impact us significantly. What can be done to minimize that particular effect?
Well, the truth is that you have infrastructure that you should have expanded. We haven't done much. Again, you also have infrastructure whose core purpose we seem to be missing out on. I talk of BOSS particularly. You did set up BOSS to hold bulk oil and then also to develop transportation infrastructure. Along the line, we seem to have, sidestepped and thought that it is no longer to hold bulk oil, but now to bulk energy. If you recall a change of name, it tells you the focus that we have given to that. The United States, as we speak, although it is out there, at war, still has a lot of, oil reserves that it can use to augment the market anytime the need arises. Unfortunately, we haven't utilized our BOSS for that purpose. And so what you have in country now are stock that is held by private capital or the BDC. What that means is that if you wake up tomorrow and prices are so high, premiums have gone up because the Strait of Hormuz is encumbered at present. What it will mean is that the private capital cannot sell cheaper or cannot sell at original cost that they bought the fuel for. So they will definitely hike or increase prices for you and I to pay for. I do think that the energy minister at this point should be having serious talks on getting what you will call strategic stock margin, and then begin earnestly stocking up products that the government itself controls and can use that to cushion Ghanaians. In the absence of that, we would simply be paying for real-time prices that pertain globally, and that unfortunately would mean that from tomorrow, the 1 to 3% price projection we even put out there earlier, we may go higher than that due to the escalations you are seeing in the Middle East. There's no tanker moving currently. You will not even dare cross the strait due to the large amounts of missiles flying, particularly between Iran and the UAE. If you recall, some parts of the UAE have been hit. You would not dare, if you were a logistics or a vessel, company, to attempt to use the strait. And once oil that has been ordered is not being delivered, about 20-25% of that is not being delivered, you are simply looking at a hike, and which could simply run into the hundreds in no time at all. So tomorrow, we could end up paying a little way more in Ghana than originally anticipated.
Right. Now, you have been talking about oil reserves. What role will the Tema oil refinery play in all of this? We know it has been refining crude oil for some time now.
The truth is that if you are able to localize your strategy, you have a functional refinery as an oil producer that also does some lifting. You could safely channel your liftings to your refinery in times like these, and insist that the refinery sets up so that even if you are not getting tankers or oil cargoes coming in, the refinery could step up and actually take care of the local demand. Unfortunately, you cannot say that of Tor at present. The turnaround maintenance has been done. The plant was kick-started for some time, but it has to go off again. We talk of Tor without putting in the investment. If you don't put in the investment or find third parties to put in the requisite investment to get Tor to function efficiently, we are simply throwing our hands and hope back to where we import 100% cargo from, and hope that even in times like this, we'll still be able to get cargo from Europe and Dubai, Asia. That might not happen. The government would need to invest in Tor. Beyond the talk, beyond the rhetoric, if Tor does not get a reformer chamber that allows it to process, high-spec petroleum products, it doesn't get a desulfurizer that allows it to take out a large amount of the sulfur concentrate in fuel, you are simply looking at Tor maybe coming on stream at some point, but whatever it produces cannot be sold in Ghana because your standards have way moved past what Tor is currently configured to produce or process.
Right now, Duncan, you have predicted a surge in prices, definitely starting from tomorrow. Any specific predictions as to how high we would be paying as Ghanaians per litre of fuel from tomorrow?
I would not be surprised that the fuel market will not even be in a hurry tomorrow morning to pass on, an adjustment. Just because you are not expecting to get your cargoes as you would expect them overnight. And so whatever they have in country might come at new premiums that you didn't anticipate. We have originally projected 1 to 3% upward from tomorrow. But chances are that it could be a little more than that due to the crisis you have in the Gulf region currently.
Right, many thanks for your time. Duncan Amwa is the Executive Secretary for COPEC. He has been speaking to us on the predictions on a fuel price hike starting tomorrow. Now let's do some more stories still on the subject, because the Ghana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has activated an emergency preparedness plan and began a partial evacuation of its embassy in Tehran as a joint U.S.-Israeli military strike on Iran on Saturday triggered retaliatory missile strikes across the Gulf, putting Ghanaian nationals in Bahrain, Israel, Kuwait, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates directly in harm's way. In an official press release issued on February 28, 2026, the ministry said it was closely monitoring with serious concern the escalating hostilities in the Middle East and was already assessing whether full evacuations of Ghanaian nationals would be necessary. Well, following growing terror attacks in the West African sub-region, with the latest one killing some 8 Ghanaian nationals, the country is seeking assistance to combat the terror threats head-on. Well, in view of this, Ghana is to sign a defense cooperation agreement with Ukraine to help build capacity of the nation's security and intelligence agencies. This was part of several other bilateral discussions held between Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who is on a working visit, and his Ukrainian counterpart.
I want to also confirm that we have just concluded very fruitful bilateral discussions. Our discussions have been broad and varying. We have discussed the need to have an agricultural cooperation. Ghana is positioning itself to be an agrarian hub, and we want to be the food basket of our region. And we have discussed the potential in having full cooperation with Ukraine in that regard. We have also discussed matters on education. Before the invasion, we had a lot of Ghanaian students here, excess of 200, who were particularly studying in the field of medical science and engineering. Because of the invasion, a lot of them returned home and had to be reintegrated. We want to revive that educational cooperation so that we can continue to have more of our medical doctors and engineers trained here. And then we can also receive a lot of Ukrainians who want to have a different exposure, different environment. We have also strong universities, some of the best in Africa, like the University of Ghana, which was established in 1948. So we have discussed the need to revive our educational cooperation. We have also looked at the potential of having a defense cooperation agreement. As two countries, we have very strong armed forces. As you do know, Ghana's celebrated armed forces is one of the UN top troop contributing nations. They have tremendous experience in maintaining peace, maintaining law and order, and carrying out peacekeeping operations across the world. And we believe that we can cooperate in that area. We are also looking at establishing an electronic warfare center so that we can deal with the threat of terrorism that we face in our region, which is now the epicenter for global terror. So we are looking for international partners to build our capacity and our ability to neutralize these terrorists. And we see in Ukraine a worthy partner. And so we have discussed that.
Now let's do some politics, and an Accra High Court will on Monday deliver its ruling on whether a case challenging the eligibility of Baba Jamal to participate in Tuesday's Ayawaso East by-election should be thrown out. Pressure group Democracy Hub is in court alleging Baba Jamal emerged victorious in a party primary fraught with vote buying. The group therefore believes he should not participate in the election. The NDC has, however, urged the court to dismiss the case as the documents filed are incurably defective and incompetent. Well, let's walk you through what the NDC has been saying about this particular subject. And basically, we know that the NDC has been urging the High Court to dismiss Democracy Hub's case. What are their main concerns? The NDC says that Democracy Hub is seeking to enforce constitutional provisions in the High Court when such a task is reserved for the Supreme Court. They also say that the procedure adopted by Democracy Hub is incompetent as they seek reliefs from the same process when this can only be obtained through two different legal processes. Lastly, the NDC is saying that the Democracy Hub lacks a sufficient legal interest to seek such redress. So these are the main concerns by the NDC. As of now, we know that the High Court is to deliver a ruling on Monday, 2nd March 2026, and then we'll all be well aware of really what would be the outcome of this particular case. Now imagine discovering that your medical records have been leaked or that a loan was denied because of an automated system you do not understand. In Ghana's fast-growing digital economy, these are no longer distant possibilities. At the Digital Protection Conference in Accra, professionals and government officials confronted the difficult truth that the law alone is not enough to protect citizens.
Every day in Ghana, millions of people give out information of themselves. A Ghana card number, a fingerprint, a medical record, a mobile money transaction. For many, it is routine, but for institutions, it is data. At the Digital Protection Conference in Accra, speakers warned that behind every data point is a human being and that trust in Ghana's digital future is very fragile.
We thank you for giving us at 843, but the digital landscape of 2025 is vastly different from 2012. We face a challenge of artificial intelligence, cross-border data flows, sophisticated cybercrime. We call on you to strengthen our legal framework, ensure that our laws remain robust, responsive, and provide the Data Protection Commission with the resources it needs to enforce compliance.
That Ghana lacks a law. The Data Protection Act passed in 2012 outlines clear obligations, registration with the Data Protection Commission, minimal data collection, security safeguards, and breach notification. The problem, speakers say, is deeper.
The Act has been with us since 2012. The penalties are real, and Section 95 of the Act provides a general penalty of up to 5,000 penalty units and or 10 years imprisonment for unspecified offenses. That is how serious the people of Ghana, through their parliament, take this issue.
Many organizations still operate without registering. Privacy policies are written in complex legal language few understand. Citizens often do not know their rights, and emerging technologies like artificial intelligence are advancing faster than regulation. Calls were made for clearer communication in local languages so citizens truly understand what they are consenting to.
We draft privacy policies longer than the Bible, written in a language that would confuse a Supreme Court judge. And we put a checkbox at the bottom. I agree. That is statutory compliance. But moral responsibility means communicating with the data subject in plain language that the individual can understand.
The Minister for Communication also addressed the conference with a firm message. Organizations that have not registered with the Data Protection Commission should do so immediately.
Compliance with the Data Protection Act is both a legal obligation and a moral duty. Any organization that has not yet registered with the Data Protection Commission should do so without delay, because very soon we'll be issuing a policy directive to the Commission to ensure strict compliance and imposition of fines for those who are not compliant with the Data Protection Act.
Now, in today's digital age, an allegation can go viral in minutes long before investigators establish the facts. A recent case in Nigeria involving a rape claim that was later admitted to be false has reignited debates about the costs of misinformation. What would such a case mean for Ghana? Christabel Success-Trevor has more.
It starts with a post. Within hours, it trends. Names circulate. Judgments are made. In a recent case in Nigeria, a young woman publicly alleged she had been raped. The story spread rapidly across social media, drawing outrage and support. Weeks later, she admitted the allegation was false.
I thought that something else happened, but the story of the rape is not true.
Yes, I've been suicidal, and that's why I just wanted to end it all. I'm tired. I'm very tired.
The confession came, but by then the damage had already been done. While the case happened outside Ghana, it raises an important question here at home. In an era where social media moves faster than investigations, what happens when an allegation turns out to be untrue? Private legal practitioner John Baptist Ayede outlines the legal consequences of making a false rape allegation in Ghana.
It was a lady that she lied that someone raped her and then the person has been in custody for 6 years. And now she said her conscience is disturbing her. That's why she came, if we can do something for her. So there is a provision in respect of making statements that are false. Because when you make that statement, then before there is sent to court, they will call something is commissioned and becomes a statement under oath. So if you find out that the statement that you've made under oath is a lie, then you are liable for what we call perjury.
A false allegation is an untrue or fabricated claim that someone has committed a crime. Once a name is linked to such an allegation online, the impact can be immediate. Jobs may be lost, relationships strained, mental health affected. Even if someone is cleared, reputational damage can be severe. Public suspicion does not always disappear. In 2013, American singer and songwriter Conor Oberst was accused of rape in an online post. The allegation spread quickly across blogs and social media. Months later, the accuser admitted she had fabricated the story. According to him, the false allegation is equal to a car crash. The case is an example of how difficult it can be to undo harm once an accusation goes public. But Executive Director of Child's Right International, Bright Appiah, cautions against drawing the wrong conclusion.
Clearly, we do not take such information for granted, and the law do not also play with it, especially where somebody comes in to say that I've been raped or defiled. The law is very strict on that. Before you even defend yourself, the law must also take its course before you can even defend yourself and say whether you are guilty or not. So it is not a space that we can toy with or we can just play with it. So it is the same thing that must happen to people who give false information.
Many victims already fear stigma, disbelief, or retaliation. When a highly publicized false claim emerges, it can create doubt and make genuine victims even more hesitant to report abuse. That is what human rights activist Sheila Minkapremo described as a double harm: damage to the accused and damage to real victims who may now struggle even more to be believed.
Definitely, I mean, if somebody makes a false allegation and is found out, another person who reports may also be looked at in a certain way, within that particular environment. So it does make it more difficult for genuine victims to report and to sustain the report that they've done, go through the whole investigation process, go through prosecution, etc. It clouds people's minds.
The speed of social media has changed the landscape. A single post can trigger national outrage within minutes, and often the original accusation travels farther than the eventual correction. Legal experts and child protection advocates say the way forward lies in responsible reporting, careful investigations, and restraint from the public. This conversation is not about discrediting victims, it is just about the truth. Christabel Success Trevor, TV3 News, Accra.
In other news this afternoon, at the heart of the 2024 election campaign was former President John Dramani Mahama and the National Democratic Congress promising to reset Ghana's trajectory through a bold 24-hour economy policy. But beyond the campaign chant, what does a 24-hour economy truly mean? Is it simply about keeping shops and factories open around the clock, or does it signal a deeper structural shift in how Ghana produces, trades, and creates jobs? Here's a report.
133. That was the equation on the lips of many in the lead up to the 2024 election, the biggest and most popular campaign promise by the National Democratic Congress, who had promised a 24-hour economy if given the nod.
One of our signature policies for job creation and economic transformation is the 24-hour economy policy. We promise to commence drafting the needed legal amendments and prepare for its implementation within the first 120 days.
But is that really all there is to this policy? And how long will the average Ghanaian wait to see this policy come to full fruition? Over the past years, Ghana's gross domestic product, GDP, has seen a steady growth. But for many, the growth does not translate into their pockets, with unemployment a major problem till this very day. For those employed, nearly 68.5% of them are in vulnerable employments, meaning they are unsure of their next income. So while the numbers may suggest expansion, the lived reality for many households is uncertainty. The deeper issue is not whether the economy is growing, but what kind of growth we're experiencing and who truly benefits from it.
The economy is deformed and is structured around imports. So basically it's an economy structured around importing almost everything we use and exporting a few primary commodities. We don't see a lot of the growth and we don't see a lot of the benefits within this economy translating into jobs and prosperity for our people.
As of 2024, the largest contributor to GDP was trade and repairs, accounting for 30.1% of total output. On the surface, that sounds positive, but much of that trade is built on imports. In 2024 alone, Ghana imported 38.9 billion cedis worth of food. About 27 billion cedis of that was spent on intestine imports, often referred to as yemwadie. At the same time, manufacturing contributes just 7.3% to GDP. That contrast tells a powerful story. We are consuming far more than we are producing, and our economic growth is heavily dependent on goods made elsewhere. In practical terms, it means we're expanding our economy in a way that supports jobs outside of our borders.
Even the yemwadie that you are eating, we are importing it, right? You have a situation where we go to events and the water that is served at those events are imported. In an economy like that, where almost everything that you use, you are importing, what you end up doing is you're exporting all the jobs, okay? And not only are you exporting all the jobs, you're also creating a lot of vulnerabilities, because today, if there's anything in the any disruption to supply chains in the world, like we saw with COVID, you have no buffers, right? And you are at the mercy of whatever happens around the world.
And so the 24-hour economy was introduced to bridge this gap by reorganizing the structure of the economy so that production, processing, and manufacturing operate continuously in shifts, maximizing productivity and deepening industrial activity.
We are translating all of these into jobs and prosperity for our people. Move away from the place where every good thing in the economy or every consumption or every activity in the economy is creating jobs for people elsewhere, to a place where the activities that we are doing here are actually creating jobs and prosperity for our own people. And that's what the 24-hour economy is meant to do. Restructure this economy around production and ensure that when we are producing, we are actually using that production to create jobs and prosperity for our own people.
Critics, especially the minority in parliament, say this policy is taking too long to mature.
This government is only fixated on PR gimmicks and is only interested in political rhetorics rather than real action and creating opportunity for all Ghanaians.
But in the face of infrastructural challenges, how does government intend to implement this policy, and how soon?
When NDC came into power, unemployment rate was around 14.7%. Today, in 2025, we're told unemployment is around 12.8%. That means we're creating jobs and we're reducing the unemployment rate. A lot of those jobs, I believe, are being created by the improved economic situation that we are seeing. The 24-hour economy is looking at accelerating this job creation. Okay, and that's why. And how do you accelerate this job creation? It is businesses, small businesses that create jobs. It's people who are producing that create jobs. So we are putting together industrial parks and agroecological parks that would solve the main binding constraints of businesses and ensure that these businesses are able to produce competitively. And if businesses are able to produce competitively, then what would they do? They will employ people.
For now, Ghanaians await with bated breath on a shift that may cause a significant change in livelihoods if properly implemented. Judith Brown, TV3 News.
Well, you're still watching Weekend Central right here on TV3. We're going for a very fast break. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Railways Development Authority, Dr. Frederick Apo, is strongly advocating for the merger of the Ghana Railways Development Authority and the Ghana Railway Company Limited, stating that maintaining two separate entities is not sustainable under the current railway sector. Dr. Apo has, however, indicated that government support is far advanced for the release of approximately 20.6 million cedis by the end of February to cover 4 months' salary arrears owed the railway workers. Now, this payment is part of the total 11 months in arrears. Irama Smith has more.
I want to confirm that I'm rushing to Accra tonight. So hopefully tomorrow I'm at the Ministry of Finance pushing for the payment for the release of the 20.6. It's not 21, 20.6. 20.6 million. Then, of course, we will look at the remaining few months.
Addressing the management of the Ghana Railway Company Limited in Takoradi during a working visit, Dr. Apo urged them to make the necessary critical decisions regarding the company's future and the long-term sustainability of the entire railway sector. With a current workforce of approximately 1,060, Dr. Apo stated that a decision must be made on how to rationalize the workforce to prevent the accumulation of further salary arrears, describing it as a hard pill to swallow. Appealing to Cabinet for the measure of the Ghana Railways Development Authority and the Ghana Railway Company Limited, he argued that the current rail line spanning less than 135 kilometers is not sustainable to maintain two separate entities.
Whether you like it or not, it must be one entity. We can't have separate entity. Once we get up to maybe 500,000 kilometers and our maintenance and asset management is on spot, we are doing the right maintenance and asset management in terms of how to look after the asset, then we can look at vertical separation. We are raising enough revenue from the haulage. We can pay ourselves. We can make our own decision. So if we want a regulator, the money will come from the operation. Mind you, the government, you're not going to form a regulator, the government will appoint a chief executive. No, it will come from the institution. We need to look at how we can work together. And that comes as something that I have to point out to everybody here. Because the more we sit down, we don't talk about it. I am chasing the salary, it will be paid. Then after a few months, it will accumulate again. Then it will come up again. It is not sustainable.
On his part, the Managing Director of the Ghana Railway Company Limited, Engineer Dr. Michael Eje Anyete, commended the CEO's efforts in securing 4 months' salary arrears for the workers, while acknowledging that given the company's current position, unity is essential for its progress.
Where we've got into is the survival of the fittest. So unity is key. Unity is key. We are going to live here as a united front so that we confront our issues together. He did say that no money is coming from anywhere. We have to be, one, innovative, proactive.
Irama Smith, TV3 News, Takoradi.
Now, the government continues its reclamation drive in heavily degraded mining areas and parts of the Ashanti region. Over 10 acres of decimated vegetation at Nreneso and Bwedi Krom in the Twima Kwanuma district are currently being restored for future gains. The project is being supervised by Minerals Development Fund under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Land defiled, vegetation ripped, water bodies gone, habitats decimated. It is time to reverse large-scale devastation in parts of the Twima Kwanuma district, Nreneso and Bwedi Krom. Over 10 acres of land are being reclaimed in these two communities by a government-backed local organization.
Covering all the peace, the devastated areas, and we also ensure that we partner with the assembly to ensure that we plant trees across all the covered areas so that we can get the vegetation cover back.
As an assembly, we are so much happy because we were thinking every year we've been discussing this issue, how we can able to reclaim the land. Unfortunately, we have this company supporting the assembly to reclaim the land to its original state. And after that, the assembly is going to plant trees to maintain the land and which can be used for future purposes.
A mechanized borehole has also been constructed for the affected communities for the supply of potable water. Government has called on private organizations to assist in financing reclamation in heavily degraded mining areas.
Now, residents of 7 settler communities in the Central Tong district of the Volta region are enduring difficult moments assessing neighboring communities after being cut off by the Mlagwe River. Stanley Nibler reports that the situation is crippling local businesses and making life uneasy for residents.
It's a busy scene at the bank of the Mlagwe River. This is a major access route to Mafidove. For years, residents of Aflukope, Aklaya, Zikponu, Pogaji, Intakpo, Kukudo, Peji, Hove and Dove have struggled to access one another as Mafidove remains cut off from its neighboring communities. Daily commuting is fraught with fear. In the absence of a footbridge over the Mlagwe River, residents have improvised mobility by relying on canoes. However, the rainy season brings an added layer of danger as the river overflows its banks and weeds cover the water surface. Accidents here periodically claim precious lives.
We normally use the river to transport ourselves to the next village. But you see, our this thing is boat. We don't have a machine on it. When you are coming, it is even late hours. You have to wait. If there is nobody here, you pull the rope yourself. If unfortunately and then it got stuck in the weeds, you can't even remove it. And because of this weeds, I lost my own brother. We approached the government that he should find some ways to solve this issue for us. But see, for so many years, we still transport ourselves using the boat.
Canoes here are self-operated. No paddles, no life jackets. It's simply a dangerous voyage. Residents seeking access to other communities depend on a rope tied to both ends of the river. A dedicated person pulls the rope to guide and direct the canoe. It's a short but frightening journey. Economic activities of the area also depend on this route, but not all traders find it easy navigating the stretch. This apple seller bears it all. Community leaders say they are worried about the decades-old problem, lamenting that successive governments have ignored their plight. Mama Aflu Viade II, Queen of Aflukope, speaks on the matter.
And when such things happen, it becomes difficult to have our children crossing, the school children. Sometimes the boat capsize. If it hadn't been for intervention of our men, we would have lost quite a good number of them. We are appealing to whoever cares to come to our aid so that we have a bridge over this short but troubling situation.
Opinion leaders say delays often occur, especially when traffic builds up at the riverbank.
Sometimes the canoe will be here. If there's nobody here crossing the river to the other side, then you're going to stay there for a very long time. So I would say in everything, economically, everything, it has impacted our life negatively here.
In all of this, pupils and expectant mothers seeking antenatal services are among the hardest hit. The assemblyman for the Dover electoral area, Moses Kwesi Ewukuvi Danyivo, serves as liaison between the communities and the district assembly.
Since I became the presiding member, we have had 2 regional coordinating meetings and have raised these issues. It is part of our minute. Our MP, the current MP, the current DC, even just yesterday, the DC and the MP, they were all here. They have to cross this same creek to access the place. So they are aware. I can't say the DC and the MP, they are also doing their part. But it is incumbent on the central government to actually listen to our MP, our DC, and the presiding member, and the entire citizens of the area.
Beyond transportation, the Mlagwe River also serves domestic purposes. Here, residents fetch polluted water for household chores when pipe-borne water fails to flow regularly.
In our town, mostly we short water. The tap doesn't flow. It can stop flowing like 2 or 3 months. So we use this water for cooking. But unfortunately, because we are using it as a transport to cross to the next town, sometimes it gets dirty. And at the end of it, our people get diseases, which we can't even know where they are coming from.
Traditional rulers warn that failure to construct a bridge over the Mlagwe River may compel them to take action in the best interest of their people.
As
residents of Aflokope endure difficulties in accessing adjoining communities, they hope government will address their concerns under the Big Push agenda to prevent further loss of lives in the pursuit of basic connectivity. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Mafi Aflokope, Volta Region.
Now, away from that, in a decisive move to bridge the gap between classroom theory and real-world clinical application, Ghana is investing in the practical training of its biomedical engineers at the heart of modern healthcare technology. The goal is to strengthen technical capacity and improve the reliability, safety, and efficiency of healthcare delivery systems across the country.
Biomedical engineers are the hands that fix the equipment doctors rely on, ensuring they are properly installed, maintained and functioning accurately to save lives. From diagnostic analyzers to patient monitoring system, their expertise ensures that equipment functions optimally. However, despite the technical demand of the profession, Ghana's education system has historically leaned heavily towards theoretical instructions. Cecil, now a teaching assistant at the University of Ghana, recalls his experience.
In the books, we see a lot of pictures, and then we always ask ourselves, like, why haven't we been given the opportunity to actually have a feel, right? What it means to actually be a biomedical engineer practically, right? So it was a bit challenging, and most of the time when we go for some of these competitions, we notice that we are a bit, we are dealt a low hand. We seem to have some lack in terms of practical skills.
To address this structural gap, the German Development Agency has introduced a program upscaling biomedical engineers in Ghana. The initiative is designed to strengthen the link between academia, research and industry by equipping students and graduates with hands-on competency-based training.
When medical equipment is properly installed and maintained, downtime is reduced. When diagnostics are accurate, treatment improves. In short, better trained medical engineers stand for a better healthcare delivery.
The impact of the program extends beyond employability. Speaking on behalf of the Health Minister, the Director of Allied Health at the Ministry of Health described the commissioning of upgraded bioinstrumentation laboratories at the University of Ghana and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology as a strategic milestone for Ghana's health sector.
Sustainable impact requires localization that is empowering the Ghanaian professionals to lead, to adapt and to innovate independently. This project strikes that balance by combining global partnership with local capacity.
For biomedical engineers, this marks a critical evolution from theoretical understanding to applied technical leadership.
Yeah, so watching Weekend Central here on TV3. We'll go for another break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us. Port waterfalls is yielding significant results after the previous management was asked to keep aside for a 3-month probe. The new interim team has recorded a staggering 400% increase in revenue. Visitor numbers have surged from 5,000 to nearly 30,000, prompting the regional minister to vow legal action against anyone found in the shortchange or to have shortchanged the state. Here's a report.
For decades, the Kintampo waterfalls served as a little more than a political football, with management teams unceremoniously swapped out whenever power shifted. The cycle of instability hampered development and tarnished the image of one of Ghana's most iconic natural landmarks. However, the facilities management shifted significantly in 2017 following a devastating storm that claimed student lives. To end the cycle of political takeovers, the site was handed over to the professional oversight of the Ghana Tourism Authority. While these stabilized the site's operation, recent financial discrepancies caught the eye of the regional minister.
When I took over, I realized that Kintampo waterfalls, the income that they generate wasn't all that encouraging. So I have to realign my strategy by engaging the municipal chief executive to look into the affairs of the previous committee. So I directed him to form an ad hoc committee to look into the revenue mobilization of the Kintampo waterfalls.
Prompted by the suspicious dip in revenue, he ordered the previous management to step aside for a 3-month probe, installing an interim ad hoc committee in their stead. The results of that collection test are nothing short.
And I realized that previously they were able to mobilize 68,000 plus for a period of 3 months. When the ad hoc committee took over, the same period, 3 months, they mobilized 430 plus thousand Ghana cedis. And the percentage growth is 417.80% growth.
Beyond the revenue spike, the minister noted a concerning trend. The previous administration's expenditure was significantly higher than the current team's, despite the lower visitor turnout.
When you look at the expenditure side, they were able to spend less to raise more revenue, whilst the old committee also spent more to raise the lower revenue.
Minister vowed legal action against any individual found to have shortchanged the state.
We are going to take action against the people because these are public funds. You can't be assigned to perform on behalf of the people and you decide to mismanage public funds.
For the municipal chief executive, the focus is now on safeguarding the vital economic assets for the future.
And that's our wrap-up Weekend Central right here on TV3. My name is Judith Brown. A pleasure coming to you this afternoon. Do stay tuned. Hot Issues with Kemini Amano is up next.